the channel, everybody. I'm trying to do a little something special for Memorial Day. Going for a ride in my flat fender. This whole thing is is definitely my favorite, but I don't know. Like, I've had it for so long now. I built it in 2012, and so I thought I'd take you for a little drive and tell you more about it. Kind of where it started, where it's at now, what's changed since the last video I did on it, and maybe what I'm going to do or what I'd like to do in the future with it. So this Jeep is called Rango. That was based off of a build thread on Pirate. So I built this in. This was the first vehicle that I did a kind of total frame up rebuild on, and it was the first, I think, kind of the first place that I really had a big enough garage to work in to do a major project like this. And this was 10 or 12 years ago now. So I was pretty active on Pirate 4x4 forum before, but they started a Willys specific section, and it was just a great run of years in that board. It was a great little area. There was a good group of guys. We were all very active. And anyway, so there is a complete build thread for this Jeep in excruciating detail. I think it was a 119 pages. I still pay my pound of flesh to Photo Bucket to host all the pictures for it, or keep them hosted. So the thread, as far as I know, and all my stuff is still complete, and it's kind of the Bible for this style Jeep, I guess. I'm not gonna say I started a trend or anything. I look to a lot of the guys, like in my day, or when I was growing up, the magazines were basically the forums. And so I look to a lot of those guys, like Rick Payway, Sonny Hodinger, even guys like Tim Hardy. And he's a samurai guy, but I really like that build style. I like that tech. And so I wanted to do a build on this like I'd always dreamed of. I was at a space in my life where I could, and that's not saying much, because I had just gotten out of fighting fire at that point because of a knee injury, and it was time to retire, kinda. And so I decided to we decided to move down to Southwest Colorado from Idaho, and Teresa started teaching school here. I got a job actually in a machine shop, and from there moved up to be my first job in mechanical engineering. So anyways, long story short there, this was the first vehicle that I built that was that type of, I guess, complete build from literally the frame up. So to go through the rough specs on this, just to get that out of the way while I drone on about the details forever and ever. This has a 225 Buick Oddfire V6 as you can see by the cool shirt I am wearing today, which you can get at Brandon's Garage. And it has now a T18 wide ratio late model transmission with the over and down reverse. It has a Super Dana 18 transfer case, still stock 242 low range gears in it. Basically, Super 18 is an 18 built in a 20 case. That was the cheap way when I built this to get to use the factory Dana 20 adapter that was on the Dana 18 transfer kit, or on the T18 transmission that I swapped in. It has a Dana 44 CJ5 housing in the back, and then I converted that to a 30 spline full float system with flanged axles, disc brakes, 538 gears, and an aux selectable locker. The front axle is a early 70s open knuckle narrow track Dana 30, and it has 538 gears, a Spartan automatic locker, nitro alloy axle shafts with the bigger 297 760X U-joints, and Warren premium hubs, and then another of my disc brake conversion kits on the front. Rolling stock is a 35 1350 15 BFG KX crawler. This isn't the original set from when I built it. I found a second set. My first set is still running around, though, on my buddy Travis Bunch's Jeep, but they are pretty worn out. I had the chance to buy this set, so I did. They are on a forged Alcoa 15x10 wheel with a aftermarket V-block conversion. And these are just a slightly narrower than what I had originally, but still a very good fit. All that is in a hand-built 2x4 rectangle tube, 1/8 inch wall, stacked rail box frame that I built from scratch to completely replace the factory frame. And that was probably the best thing I did to this Jeep. It gave me a really nice and straight, level place to start for everything, and then I was basically able to plop this very cool patina authentic 1942 Willys MB body on it, and from there it was I'll say heavily modified, but done tastefully. So I wanted it to look like it was done in the 40s, and so I tried to keep the modifications, and a lot of people are going to disagree with this, conservative, but I moved a lot of things a small amount, and that, I think, was where this vehicle really came together into its own, per se. And so that included things like raising the front fenders, basically what's called a high line now. That was actually first done, as far as I can tell, on the 1943 MLW2 Jungle Jeep concept. And so I took cues from that and did the raised front fenders. I also raised the rear wheel tubs about the same amount, and that let me fit these very large tires with almost no lift. So as far as suspension, this has rear length CJ2 3 style 1.75 inch wide springs on all four corners. So the springs are identical, all four corners. When I first built it, I had a Superlift 1 inch spring on it, and then after those wore out, after about give or take, they probably lasted a good honest like 5 to 7 years before they really started sagging. And so I taught myself how to design springs, and I worked with Deaver, and they custom built a set of springs to my design. And so now it has a custom Deaver spring on it, same length, same width, very much lower spring rate, a little bit more free arch, and probably about a ½ inch more lift than what it had stock, or what it had when I first built it with the Superlift springs. And so that gives me about 4.5 inches to 5 inches of up travel from ride height, which I really like on this. It has a 9 to 10 inch travel shock, 9s on the front, 10s in the back. Nothing fancy right now. I do have some plans to put something much fancier on it in the future. But right now, actually at Easter Jeep this year, I actually lost a rear upper shock mount for like the 3rd time on the driver's side rear. I don't know why that one's the one to go, but it always does, and so it's time for a redo. So right now I only have 3 shocks, but it's still fine. And the wheelbase on this, to get the tires and get the vehicle to sit as low as it is, has been modified slightly. So when I designed the frame and with the new suspension and all that, I pushed the front axle forward about 3 inches, and then I pushed the rear axle back about 2 inches, and that gives me an 85-inch wheelbase. It sits very close to stock height, maybe an inch of lift, because the spring geometry is slightly different with the custom frame. And when I did the Deaver springs, they're a lot more flexy than the Superlift springs were, a lot more free arch. And so I had to redesign the front shackles to integrate a kickback stop, if you will, for when the front suspension is really drooped out. Sometimes if you're drooped out on a corner and then you push on that tire like you're climbing and turning, it can stretch everything so much it inverts the spring, or can invert the shackle, sorry. And it was very close. It wouldn't do it all the time, but it would do it enough that it was annoying. So I designed those kickback shackles, anti-kickback shackles that stop on the frame, and so now that doesn't happen anymore. The rear shackles, after 10 years, I finally bent them. I think the first time was sliding down a hill on Ultimate Adventure like 2015 in Tennessee. Big muddy hill, slid all the way back down and whacked the spring and shackle and bent it. So I replaced those with like a 3/8 plate version. So they were quarter, I went up to 3/8. Those are long enough that I don't need a anti-kickback on those, as far as I can tell, at least yet. And yeah, so other than that, with this Jeep sitting so low, it was, I think, critical to get the powertrain up in the chassis as much as I could. And so the engine, transmission, and transfer case are all mounted very high in the chassis, and so that gives it a ton of belly clearance, which is really nice, and makes it work really well with the low lift height and low overall stance, which is great for stability. This thing is by far the most stable, predictable vehicle I have driven, ridden in, anything to date. So it is, it's not that it doesn't have its limits with the, with things like going up really steep inclines or whatever, and it has limits, but those limits are very predictable. And so I found that just a function of how low it sits, and that makes it just so when you're pushing the limits, you really know where they are. And I really, really like that about this vehicle. It's, to me, this thing is just like a big kid's go-kart. And it's just really fun to drive. It's kind of got that, it's open air, you smell everything, you hear everything, but it's just a big kid go-kart. Other details than that on, I've kept it fairly simple. The Buick engine is just carbureted. It has one of my modified Motorcraft 2-barrel carbs on it. That is phenomenal for everything, honestly. It is, I do have a wideband O2 sensor and gauge in the dash full time, along with a vacuum gauge, and that lets me tune and adjust this for big elevation changes or whatever the case may be on big trips and stuff like that. If you go up and down, I can jet things, I can spot problems, I can tune things, and I think that over the years has really, really paid off. And this has been a very reliable system. It's still a mechanical fuel pump. It has the gas tank has been moved to behind the seats. It's a custom tank. I actually have a separate video on that. It goes into a little more detail, but it's a aluminum gas tank, about 17, 18 gallons, and still leaves a lot of usable cargo space behind the gas tank, and is just simple. I like that about this Jeep. This is kind of your stick and rock, simple Jeep. Carbureted, manual transmission, nothing fancy, really. And I do have a new power steering pump system that I designed. I fought a hodgepodge of factory brackets and modified brackets for years, and decided finally to start with a clean sheet of paper. And I did came up with a way to do a TC GM Type 2 steering pump on these Buick 225s. It has an integrated reservoir version of that pump. All the plumbing is simple. It's compact. It works fantastically well. And that is feeding a Saginaw 4-bolt power steering box that is mounted on the frame. It has now, this is the second box. I had a rebuilt, at the time it was pretty cheap, like Cardone, big piston, 4-bolt power steering box off of like a mid-70s Jeep J10 pickup, J20 pickup, something like that. And it's, in my opinion, it is the perfect solution for a 35-inch tire on these. It's great power, it's enough power, good feel, good feedback. It's simple. There's not a lot of plumbing, and that has always been a very good system on this Jeep. I did eventually kind of, you know, they don't last forever though. I did kind of beat the guts out of that remanufactured box after about 10 years. And then I had Lee Steering build me a replacement custom box, a little bit of tuning with their advice on the input, the ratio, the feel and stuff like that. And then the special thing is they offer a 3 bearing support system for the sector shaft in there as an option in their boxes. I was also able to get them to mill the input and output ports in the box for banjo fittings, so that helps tuck those fittings better underneath the grill on these. It's a much more simple and clean connection. That is just going to a slightly custom made pitman arm that's a custom length to fit in this package. If I was to do it again, I would move the box forward about an inch or so. I think that would help packaging. It would have to get Frenched into the bumper more. I have that. This has not huge steering links. They're 1-inch DOM 3/16 wall tubing that are directly threaded and still running stock sized CJ tie rod ends. That's been a phenomenal system for this. Strong enough, not crazy for packaging, that kind of thing, and it allows me to fit everything in the tight packaging. This has the Dana 30 2-hole passenger side knuckle, which gives you a separate tie rod and drag link, which I really like. I think that has better steering feel than T-linkage. What else can I tell you about this thing? I think this video has already been like 25 minutes. Oh, I did. So we're kind of into the phase of what I've changed. When I originally built it, it of course had suspension seats, low backs on the floor, pretty much. They are leaned back against the MB wheel tub, and those were, when I built it, fairly cheap EMPI low back seats, and those had finally just wore out after 10-12 years of being inside outside trails, wet, whatever. And so I recently, this year before Easter Jeep, replaced them with a set of PRP Roadster seats that I had made with the shorter front to back seat bottoms, and those fit, and these seats in general fit in these flat fenders much better. I was able to center up the seats a little bit more. There's the passenger seat is inboard more than it used to be. Center console's now centered left to right, things like that. Other than that, I haven't really made any big, huge changes on this Jeep since I built it. And that's, I think, a testament with how good this Jeep is, or is. There are some things I want to do that have been on the list for years now, but honestly, I'm stuck in that spot where I've got other projects competing for time, building the Old Blue Willys project, things like that. So, I do them kind of when I have to, almost, not when I want to or need to. But, I did, on the engine, I did end up replacing after I did the power steering pump, I noticed the factory alternator bracket was starting to have some cracks in it, and so I designed a matching billet aluminum 6061 T6 alternator bracket for these. I do still have a couple of those left on the store if you would like one. These are much, 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 much stronger than the stock cast hollow alternator bracket. But other than that, I've always been nervous about the Dana 30 front end with 35-inch tires. This thing is pretty light. It's only about 3,100 pounds. Maybe, with people and gear for a big trip and whatever, it can push like 3,600. But still, in all things considered, that's pretty light these days especially. But here I am 10 or 12 years later, and I've never really had a problem internally in the Dana 30 front axle. I do fight locking hub issues. I've tried pretty much every combination of bolt, stud, whatever, and they just loosen up or fatigue over time, and so I have to replace the hub bolts every couple seasons. But other than that, this axle's actually been pretty good. That said, I would like to put a Dana 44 in it. I do have a Roxor complete Dana 44 front axle for it. I will probably be doing a build series on that and swap that in. It should be if I do it right, it should be a fairly direct swap. Other than that, I would like, so when I changed to the aluminum wheels, I lost a little bit of caliper clearance, and I couldn't run my electric e-brake kit on the back without spacers, and that would have made the widths all funny on this. So I haven't done, or I don't have now, the electric e-brake kit on the back of this. I think I have a way to do that now with swapping some things and some different parts around and whatnot. So I would like to do the electric e-brake caliper conversion on the back of this, mainly for the cutting brake function. I think that, especially with the full-time front locker and the rear locker open, will give me tons of maneuverability over what it is now. It's not bad now, mind you. It's still a small Jeep. It's still like driving a go-kart. It still fits places that it has no right being, pretty much. But I'd like to do that. I do want to do a very nice set of shocks on it so I can tune on them. I noticed a huge difference in performance with the Deaver springs, and I think the shocks would be the next level beyond that. I picked up a set of UTV shocks that look to be about the right size stroke. They have a built-in bump stop. They have dual speed compression adjusters. They have rebound adjusters. They're about 9.5 inches of travel, which should package just fine on this. Really looking forward to that. That said, I do have to do quite a bit of modifications to get them to fit, so that always kind of snowballs. I do have another transfer case in the works. Been in the works for years and years. I had a set of prototype low range gears built, and they would be they are a 3.875 low range. They fit in a 20 case. I think that would be an improvement in a lot of ways. There are times in very technical terrain where I need a gear either lower than first, which is currently 84-1. So I'd like to have something in the hundreds, like low hundreds. And then I wouldn't mind having a gear between my existing first and second, kind of as a bump gear for bigger hill climbs and stuff. Right now, first low is at 84 is too low. Second is just a little bit too high, I think, and not so much that it won't pull it, but it pulls it too quick, and then when the wheels do spin, you get a little bit too much wheel spin. So just something I'd like to change. And generally, first high range is the same as second low range currently. So I wouldn't really be losing any gear selections. I might have to go to different range to get them, but I could do some things there. I have a rear driveline disconnect that is from actually Jesse Haynes' fabrication that he had built for a Roxor. I think I can get that to work. So yeah, different transfer case. If I ever have to take the transmission transfer case out, I might be more motivated to do that. What else? Trying to think. If you have any questions, number one, I will link the build thread below for you. And number two, if you make it through the build thread and you don't see the answer, definitely drop a comment on this video, and I will try to answer that. You know, if you like this kind of stuff, definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications if we do videos, and if you like this video, there is a thumbs up. That helps out with the YouTube algorithms and all that. Yeah, I think that's a good Memorial Day video on this old Jeep Rango. So thank you for following along if you've made it this far in the video. And if you have any questions on a specific part of it, bonus content. I forgot one of my favorite things. So this has a original Bellevue winch that I found for like $175 from a local guy. It is a brass tag Bellevue, so it's fairly early in their production before they were bought out by Warren. I liked it so much that I eventually ended up having custom bi-directional motors built for them. I also offer those on the web store at Brennan's Garage, brennans-garage.com, along with some other reproduction parts like the brake levers and the clutch levers. But I also, when I converted this to bi-direction, I also added an external Albright style sealed solenoid pack. And then also I now have a wireless winch controller that is just fantastic with these old things. It lets you use it in the cab. It lets you use it walking away from the vehicle, whatever you want to do. The brand that I've found that I really like is these X-Bull controllers. They're available on Amazon. I think it's $40 for the kit. There is, I think this is one of the better controllers. It has 8 AAA batteries in it. There's a external antenna wire on the receiver box, so if you make that into a little antenna, the range seems fantastic. I get about 125 feet before I start to get intermittent signal, and usually then if I turn around and don't have my body between the controller and the winch, I can get another 20 feet of reception pretty reliably. So I really like that. I do run synthetic winch line. It's 125 feet of 3/8, and then I run it with my soft hooked system that I came up with a few years back, which is basically a way to attach a normal soft shackle using a loop-to-loop connection to any winch line. For me, it's been the best of both worlds, hook, loop, everything, tight storage, all those things. I'll have to do another video on that to fully explain it. What else? Am I forgetting anything? If I'm forgetting something, drop a comment below. And thanks for following along on this gorgeous day. I will try and make this video something special for you with some B-roll footage in it, and get some rolling shots and some corner shots and that kind of stuff. I'm still trying to find my voice, if you will, on these videos. I was a forum guy. I know how to do forum posts pretty well with pictures and explanations and tech, but trying to tell a story in video for me is a whole new adventure. So thank you for following along on this channel. Thank you for subscribing if you have, all those things. And happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope you're out driving your old Jeep around in your old neighborhood and just having a great day. We'll see you guys later. Bye.